I guess.
What's going on, man? I'm gonna undock. Everyone go ahead and head to the staging class. Probably the safest place to do a class. For now. What's going on, pretty here?
Oh, nothing much.
Warp drive active.
Alright, so like I said earlier, I'm not gonna go over into huge detail about each Tech 2 frigate. I'll try and cover as much as I can, but I mean, Tech 2 frigates are so broad in what they're capable of doing that you could literally talk about each frigate on their own for days at a time. They're really, really amazing. I primarily fly T2 frigates. That's just my bread and butter, just from a lot of small gang and solo PvP that I used to do in the day. But, you know, even in larger fleet ops, T2 frigates can be incredibly helpful for scouting, especially if you're using interceptors, or just causing mayhem with electronic warfare. I'll show you what I mean in that in a little bit. Okay, waiting for a few more people. Enyo, Kestrel Malediction.
Be right back.
Where were we supposed to head, or just hanging outside the station?
If you have any questions, by the way, just go ahead and interrupt me. Right. One thing you guys want to do is have your market window open on this one, just so we can go through the details. Alright, first thing we'll do is open up your market window. Let's click on the Ships tab, and then go to Frigates. Then you'll see Advanced Frigates. Those are going to be your Tech 2. Okay, so now there's 5 different categories of Tech 2 frigates. Well, really 4. I wouldn't really consider an Expedition frigate as anything really important. But basically, if you're a miner, yeah, Expedition frigate's great. But for what 99% of what we're doing, assault frigates, covert ops, electronic attack frigates, and interceptors. Probably the most common being, actually, they're all really common. Yeah, they're all equal. I don't think there's one more prominent than the other one. But if you look at each category, like for instance, assault frigates, right? Each race will have 2 of every kind of ship, with the exception of electronic attack ships. So there'll be 2 covert ops, there'll be 2 assault frigates, 2 interceptors, and only 1 electronic attack frigate. I really wish there'd be a second one, but probably not anytime soon. Let's start with the assault frigates, because those are probably my favorite. They're phenomenal for solo and small gang PvP. In larger fleet engagements, you really don't see it that often, just because they're expensive, and you'd rather have cruisers if you're going to be flying with, that many people. It depends on what you're looking for, but most of the time you're not going to see, 200-man fleets with Tech 2 frigates. So basically, the Tech 2 frigates are literally just super souped up versions of their Tech 1 counterparts. They're each going to have an additional set of special attributes to them. So for instance, if you were to compare like the Enyo and Ishkar, they're going to have a similar hull to the Incursus, but you'll notice that each one's got a set specific type of attributes. So if you go ahead and look at the Enyo, for instance, right? I'll link it. It's got your standard bonus, right? Your standard Galente frigate bonus, small hybrid turret damage, 10% per level. But then you see the assault frigate bonus is going to have an additional 10% bonus to hybrid turret optimal range and a 7.5% bonus small hybrid turret tracking speed. And it also has a roll bonus, which is freaking amazing. A 50% reduced micro warp drive signature radius penalty. That's huge, because if you have a micro warp drive on, usually your signature radius is massive, so you're a lot more susceptible to getting shot by, rails, artillery, missiles. It makes you a much larger target. So having a 50% decrease in your sig radius is awesome. Or not decrease, but it reduces the penalty of having your micro warp drive on. So if, let's say, for instance, you're going to do the spiral approach and try and tackle an artillery ship, like a Tornado or a what the hell is that thing called? A Talos, a railfit Talos. I mean, that is a huge key thing to have, because it really makes it a lot more difficult for you to get hit. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Ishkar. Now this is probably, I have more kills with an Ishkar, I think, than any other ship in the game. So, same thing again, you've got that standard frigate bonus, but on top of that, you've got your assault frigate bonus. So you get a 10% bonus to small hydro turret optimal range, and a 5 meter cube bonus to ship drone bay capacity. So this thing's gonna, just like it in Curse, it'll have some really nice damage with the weapons. You can get that extra drone bay. It's a drone boat. It's really a lot of fun. It's super versatile. There's so many different kinds of fittings and ways you can use this ship for PvE and PvP that it really is probably, I think, one of the most versatile frigates out there, hands down. I can link you some really fun kills with that a little later on. But same roll bonus, 50% reduced micro warp drive signature radius penalty. That's, once again, really, really nice to have if you're going to be using it to tackle something. Alright, so let's look at some different races here. Let's look at the Amar ones, right? The Retribution and the Vengeance. So if we look at the Retribution, once again, another assault frigate. You got your standard Amar frigate bonuses that you're going to get with your Amar frigates, but then once again, you got that assault frigate bonus and the extra 10% bonus to small energy turret optimal range, 5% bonus small turret damage, and that 50% reduced micro warp drive signature penalty. So these things are really, really good at not getting shot by these snipey ships or taking as much damage from missiles. And aside from these types of bonuses, if you actually look at the specific attributes of the ship, you'll notice that the resistances for the armor and the shields and everything else, depending on the ship, they'll be significantly higher than their Tech 1 counterparts. So these things are really, really tanky. And you can actually use Tech 1 Logi, like Frigate Logi, with these kinds of ships, because if you buffer tank them, they can have as much or more EHP than a destroyer, which is really, really nice to have. So if you're doing small gang PvP, I mean, these things can be pretty damn tanky. Now, so much so that you could actually take on cruisers with these things if you have Logi on the field. And they're fast, they're small, and they're deadly. So assault frigates, a shitload of fun, especially if you have the right ship for solo PvP. I mean, these things are fucking hilariously fun to fly. You can go through each one. So assault frigates, basically, they're really, really heavy-duty frigates, kind of like a destroyer, but much faster. As much DPS, almost as much tank, if not more. And they do have a pretty price tag, but you get what you pay for. I mean, the thing is really, really phenomenal. In terms of flying styles, I can't really give you any tips on how to fly any of the Amar assault frigates, just because I don't fly them. I mostly fly Galente, but there are people, like some of the junior FCs, I'm sure Pretty Air here has flown some of those.
Mm-hmm.
He can definitely give you some tips on flying those specific. Anything Galente, I'm your guy. Anything else, probably not. Except maybe a Sentinel now. I have a little experience flying a Sentinel. Alright, let's look at my second favorite Tech 2 frigates to fly. Let's look at electronic attack ships. We're going to skip Covops for a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at Galente. Now, I think the most powerful electronic attack frigate is going to be the Carries, and I'll go over that in a minute. I'll link that there. They gave a buff to the Carries, I think a year and a half ago. Not to the Carries, but to sensor dampening in general, making this ship, I think, one of the best electronic attack frigates. Because, like, jamming someone out is great, but it's a chance-based system versus sensor dampening, which is always going to hit your target. And the bonuses this ship get is it's fucking ridiculous. And that's actually what I'm flying here real quick. If someone actually wants to leave the bubble real quick, just as an example, I've got a Carries here. We can do a little live demonstration.
I'll go.
Yeah. If you guys pull up on the Carries window and look at the roll bonuses and attributes,
I'll come toward you.
Pretty, what's your locking range on your ship right now?
I actually don't even know. 39.
Okay, it's 39 kilometers. What is it now?
It is 11.
11. So basically I reduced it by a third. And I've only got 2 dampeners on here. The way I have my fit set up, I only have 2 dampeners. A lot of people usually put 3 on these things, but for what I use it for, I only put 2. But the coolest thing about this particular ship and the bonus that it has versus all the other ships in its class versus like the Kitsune and the other 2 ships, I forget the names right now, the Sentinel and the other ones, it's got a 20% bonus to warp disruptor and warp scrambler range. So with a cold Tech 2 warp disruptor, I can point a target from up to 42 kilometers away. Overheated, I can get 50 kilometers.
He also still has me damped at 85 out.
Yep. It's ridiculous. I mean, as a tackle ship, it's really, really good. I wouldn't recommend using it to tackle something that's faster than you, like for instance Tech 1 frigates or interceptors, even some of the Tech 2 destroyers or Tech 3 destroyers. But I mean, if you're tackling cruisers, battleships, battle cruisers, I mean, this ship is amazing to do that because you're really going to reduce their targeting range, and you're going to be able to point them and be fast enough to dodge their drones and everything else that they're going to throw at you. So amazing ship. I think it's one of the most OP frigates out there, but it's something you're not really going to fly solo. I can't think of ever fighting someone one-on-one with a Carriers just because it doesn't have any damage output. I don't even have guns fit to this thing. But it's really, really good for tackling a ship or, getting someone else off of your back. So you got a friend who's tackled and, he's got a point on him, he needs to warp away, he's taking damage. You can damp an enemy, have him break his lock, and then your friend can get out. So it's a really, really good, helpful ship in terms of offense and defense.
What's a good way to fit it? Is
And
it just
pretty cheap,
speed tank?
You can get a fully fit Carries for like 25 million, maybe less.
Is it a ship that you should just speed tank, or should you, armor or shield tank it generally?
You generally want to speed tank it. Yeah, because you shouldn't be taking any damage, to be honest. And if you do take damage, I mean, you're going to die anyways. You can't put any tank on this thing, really. It's paper tank.
Well,
So,
the link I linked in Fleet is actually quite hilarious. It dies a lot, but it's got 2 medium ASPs. You point them from quite a ways away, and they're like, "Oh, it's just carries. I'll kill it." So they engage you, right? And then you turn on the medium ASPs, and you're like, "LOL, no," and they get pissed off, and it's hilarious.
yeah, that could work. That's a very interesting fit. I'd love to see that in action. But personally, I wouldn't fly because I have to use sensor dampeners, as just because half the time I use my Carries and I fly it a lot, I'm using it to break someone's lock on a friend.
Do you mind linking your fit?
But yeah, amazing ship. I'd say the second most common E-War ship that I see out there is probably a Kitsune. Kitsunes are pretty ridiculous. Essentially, it's just a Tech 2 version of Griffin. It's going to add huge bonuses to jamming strength. So, I mean, one Kitsune on the battlefield can really just ruin your day. Phenomenal ship, too. If you've got good jamming skills, highly recommend you train into them. Or if you just like flying them and jamming people, they're great. Like, if we were to go up against a Tango fleet and we had about 10 or 15 Kitsune pilots as well, you could jam out a lot of those ships. I think it'd be more effective than cruise fires, but that's just my opinion.
I think whoever was asking a question needs to shout.
All right, let's look at some other ones. Interceptors are probably the most fun to fly. In terms of, like, you're going to see the most action in interceptors for a lot of reasons, because you're going to be asked to scout a lot during fleet ops. I highly recommend everyone train interceptors, just because learning how to scout is really, really important. Whether you want to be an FC, you want to learn more about fleet ops, or just in general to have a lot of fun. You're the first, in the line of fire. You're the first in the action. You're going to see the most action just by flying interceptors, just because you're in the shit all the time, and that'll get your blood moving all the time. Just because you're always like jumping through gate camps. You're always getting the first one to get targeted. You're always crashing gates. Interceptors are a lot of fun, and they have ridiculous bonuses to speed. And there's nothing faster in the game than fucking interceptors. Although those Tech 3 destroyers are pretty fast too. Okay, so let's look at a couple interceptors. Oh, pretty, you want to just link your fit?
Sure.
Malediction. So if you click on the traits, once again, you got your standard MR frigate bonuses, but then if you got your interceptor bonuses, 15% reduction in micro-warp drive signature rate. So it's similar to the bonus that like the Enyo or Ishtar will get or that retribution, but it's taking it even a little bit further. So your signature radius is going to be tiny in that thing. And because you're flying so damn fast in that, anyone that's trying to track you with turrets is going to have a very difficult time unless they get like a bunch of target painters on you or they scram and web you. That's pretty much the only way you're going to get guns on someone like that. And also 5% bonus to Warp Scrambler and Warp Disruptor optimal range. So it does give you an increase to your scram and point range, but nothing compared to a carries, and it's a little bit less than some of the other interceptors too, which give you a 10% bonus.
Yeah, the overheated point on this right now is 36k.
Yeah. But another cool thing about interceptors, I think the coolest thing is it's completely immune to interdiction spheres, warp disruption field generators, almost small, large warp disruptors. Bubbles, not an issue. They're really, really fun. And some of you that have seen some of the larger fleet ops, Rush had this fit called the Rush Cats. Essentially, there's interceptors fit with ECM bursts, and we would literally warp in the middle of the enemy fleet that's completely bubbled up. Everyone would activate their ECM burst. We'd break the lock of half their fleet, and we'd warp out. This would all happen within about 3 or 4 seconds. So they wouldn't even have enough time to lock you up. So it's a really, really interesting way to use these kinds of ships. I think it's actually brilliant, but a lot of people aren't trained into these things, so we'd love to get more people trained in them. Also, there are a lot of, you'll see solo PvP, a lot of people fly interceptors. Specifically this one, they use a lot of kitey techniques where they'll basically manually spiral downwards. They'll use beams on this. They'll usually be able to pop a target. Usually you don't even have to point them. Half the time, people are just trying to catch you. They're kitey ship. A lot of fun. And each race has 2 interceptors. Usually one's really designed to just literally be an interceptor to tackle, and the other one's kind of like more of a PvP interceptor kind of fit. Like, for instance, the Ares is a great tackler and scout. Tyrannus, not so much. It's more for like PvP brawling, like a really fast brawling. And each race has their own ups and downs with each ship type, and you can learn about the different ones just by flying them and fitting them and looking at their roll bonuses. And I'm off grid. Warp. Yeah. So Stiletto, really, really cool ship. You'll see a lot of people in Stiletto. Those are, I'd say more often than not, those are going to be PvP fit interceptors versus scouts, or tacklers. Very deadly. I've been killed many times by Stilettos, unfortunately. They're really, really fast. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about covert ops. That's probably the most, I'd say, not only skill intensive, but practice needed. I suck at flying bombers, and I have horrible missile skills, so I don't really do it. But the people that do it, I know love the shit out of it. And the DPS you can put out with stealth bomber is pretty intense. Anybody have a stealth bomber fit they can link?
I'll link one on one.
Yeah, there's 2 ways you can really fit a stealth bomber. I mean, you can use it for cruise missiles for taking high damage to ships and structures. The other one is bomb launchers for taking out fleets, basically large explosion radiuses. Yeah, I'm sure many of you have been bombed before or seen a bomb. If not, fun to watch. Just YouTube Bombers Bar. These guys are famous for using stealth bombers. They really know what they're doing.
All the ones I link, though, are siege bombers. However, you can fit an offline bomb launcher on a siege bomber if you look at that purifier.
Yeah. So they're pretty straightforward. Cloaky on there. A little bit of a tank. Warp disrupt. You want to grab a target, fire your missiles, hold them there, let them pop, and then warp away. In most cases, most times I've seen stealth bombers in action, you're going to fire 1, maybe 2 rounds, and then you're out. You don't want to stick around because they're not super tanky. And the stuff you're going after is usually really big. But yeah, if you're in a fleet of battleships, I mean, you definitely want to keep your eyes open for stealth bomber. These guys will pop in, fire their missiles, pop out.
Keep in mind there are 12, if you're in Brave at least, there are 12 stealth bomber fits in the corporation fitting.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to fit a stealth bomber. for the different types of missions you're using. Also, even like stealth bombers are great for scouting too. I mean, they're cloaky, small sig radius, and if needed, they can do quite a bit of damage. The other covert op ships are going to be for scanning. They're pretty much, you want to do. For instance, I have an alt that I use for scanning. Like when I was in high sec, I used to do can flipping. Essentially, what I do. This is before some of the changes. I'll explain it real quick. I had an alt that would be in a scanning ship, a Tech 2 scanning ship. And I would literally scan down someone running a mission using combat pros. And then I would simply fly my alt over to where his mission pocket was. And I would kind of just watch him and he'd look at me, and I obviously can't engage him because I'm in high sec. But I would wait for him to finish his mission, and usually there's some, high-end loot or a mission-required loot, and I'll go ahead and steal it before he can. And that would kind of give him a kill right on me, and he would engage me. Now, I would be fit for PvP, and usually their mission ships are not, and that would give me the upper advantage and allow me to get some pretty nice kills. I'll link a couple for you.
Be right back in.
Yeah, it's an asshole thing to do, and some of the mechanics change now because when you go suspect, anyone can really engage you. But even still, you have to know where you are, and these people running missions are not usually in fleets. They're usually by themselves most of the time. I mean, you can obviously just choose your targets carefully, and you can always disengage if you need to, because they're probably not going to be fit with a scram or a web. As an example, this jackass, I stole his mission, but he decided to engage me, and he paid the ultimate price for it.
You killed that with
Assault
a
frigates,
covert
they
op
put
ship?
out so much DPS.
You killed that with a covert op ship?
No, this one I used a covert op ship to scan him down in his mission pocket. Then I went in there with my Ishkar. And then using the covert op ships to get eyes on him, I used it as a warp. Sent my Ishkar in there, stole his mission loot, and then he engaged me, giving me the ability to defend myself and then kill him. Because if I tried engaging him in high sec, he would the CCP would just come and kill me, or whatever they're called. But if I steal from him, that just makes me go suspect, and he's allowed to shoot me because I stole from him, and because he shoots me, that then allows me to defend myself, at which case CCP will not kill me, and then I can go ahead and kill him.
Yeah, I get the mechanics. I was surprised that the frigate killed the battlecruiser there.
Oh yeah, you can do a lot with these things. I'll link you the fit that I use. See, the problem is like these things are fit so tanky because when they're doing PvE, they really have to take a lot of damage. So you really do have to have a lot of DPS to do something like that. And the other thing is you have to be able to kill their cap. So like an energy neutralizer is a must for a kill like that if you're taking on something battlecruiser or battleship size. Let me find the fit that I used here. Bro. Actually, it's a fit I use sometimes for PvP. I'll tweak it a little bit, but it still works really well. Yeah, you fly under their guns. You use your own drones in that ship to take out his drones, and then basically you're more or less home free. And you just drain his cap, switch your warrior 2s to hobgobs, and just start hitting him with all the DPS you can. And you want to kind of overheat your guns as well as often as you can without burning your modules out. So every couple cycles you overheat for one cycle and then turn it off and so on and so forth. And you will break their tank and they will pop. And the same could be applied with PvP fit battleship. If you can get under their guns and take out their drones, and you catch your battleship in a mission pocket, I mean, you can take them out. No problem. Here's another example. Yeah. Assault frigates they're really fucking tanky. In small gang scenarios, if you can get 3 or 4 assault frigates together, take on a cruiser, even battle cruisers, I mean, you can do a lot of damage. What's best is if you're doing, like, let's say a small gang, you can get 3 or 4 assault frigates, a couple tacklers, and then maybe like 1 or 2 E-warships, like 1 carries and a kitsune. You can pretty much take out 2, maybe even 3 cruisers, no problem. I mean, Tech 2 roams are incredibly deadly. Because you wouldn't expect, 3 or 4 frigate-sized ships to take down battle cruisers, battleships, and cruisers. It's just pack a lot of punch. I think my Ishkar fit puts out like 350 DPS, 360 DPS. It has about 9,000 to 10,000 EHP, if I remember correctly. It's also active tank too, so it's really hard to kill. I'm gonna dock up real quick, switch out my ship. I'll show you guys a really fun ship that I just started flying, and I don't see a lot of them, just because people that fly them don't really get engaged that often because they're so ridiculously annoying to fight. That's going to be the Sentinel. It's the Amar electronic attack free. It's got a bonus to tracking disruption, which is irritating if you're trying to, shoot it with something long range. And if you get in close enough, or you're dumb enough to get in close enough, it's got huge bonuses to energy neutralizer range and amount. So with just 2 energy neutralizers, that thing's going to drain 200 cap every 6 seconds. So against a destroyer and a frigate, it's basically suicide trying to go after something like that. It's a pretty interesting fit, or ship in general. Okay, so vampires versus neutralizers. Basically, if you need help staying cap stable, or you're worried the ship you're going to be attacking is going to have an energy neutralizer and nuke you, it's good to have an energy vampire, just so you can kind of keep yourself moving or going. But generally, what you'd rather have is energy neutralizing, because you'd rather just take out their cap, because that's just better for you. Vampires won't drain their capacitor below your own, which is one of the downsides of vampires. Like on my Ishkar fit, I'll usually have an energy neutralizer most of the time, just because I have a cap booster on there. But on my Enyo fit, most of the time, I'll have energy vampire, just because I know that the ships I'm going to be engaging usually are going to have a nude on there, and it's irritating. Let's do a little demonstration here real quick. Fly in there with my Sentinel. The cool thing about the Sentinel specifically also is it's got a huge drone bay. I got 12 drones in here. And you can have 4 at a time out. So I've got a set of warriors, hobgoblins for DPS if I need warriors to keep off other drones, and ECM drones if I really need to get the hell out and hopefully break someone's lock on me. Like if someone's got me scrammed, I'm going to try and get them off me as best I can. Oh, the Kitsune is awesome. Mookie, can you go ahead and post your Kitsune fit?
Yeah, this is not a great solo fit, but sure.
That's good. Kitsunes are usually... I don't think I've ever seen a Kitsune fight solo. If you're doing a frigate roam, or even a destroyer roam, or even a cruiser roam, having a Kitsune with you is like a lifesaver. I would take a Kitsune over having any Logi with me, to be honest. One Kitsune can ruin the day for like 3 or 4 pilots. So you gotta be careful with that chip because it's not tanked so well. Alright, anybody want to come out here and try and grab me?
Warp drive
I don't see you.
active.
You don't see me, I'm right on the station.
On my way. That's what else got
I mean, I'm right on the pause.
Warp drive active. The capacitor is empty. The capacitor is empty. The capacitor is empty.
So when you're flying a ship like this, there's certain kinds of things you want to watch out for. Like missile ships are usually something you don't want to engage because even if you do drain their cap, they can still fire their missiles. But I mean, if they scram and web you, you can still burn away just because you'll completely drain their cap. Like Cog, right now your cap is empty, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's might start taking damage and someone might get a scram or a web on you. But if they're a frigate or destroyer, you'll completely nuke them out in a couple seconds. In which case, you would just circle around them now that they're completely neutered out. You got your warp disruptor on them, and you just let your drones deal damage because they can't tank because you got them neutered out. It's a pretty interesting fit. I'll link it for you. Now, I don't fly this thing that often. I've fought against a few of them, and I'm kind of just working off a fit based on how they fought me. I'll link you what I have here. And there's like 30 different ways to fit this ship. Some people do triple neutralizers and 2 tracking disruptors. They've got all kinds of weird fits for this thing. And this one is active tank, just so I can tank drones. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to fly. No matter what Tech 2 frigate you fly, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I guarantee it. And I can't recommend them enough. Strat up soon. But I really wanted to take out a Rome. Yeah, he's got 3 newts on that one, so I like that fit. He's got that cap boost. Keep those newts running. Ship like that, you could drain out a cruiser eventually. After like about, I'd say 30 seconds. Maybe even less than 30 seconds. He's got that drone damage amplifier. I mean, it's a solid fit. Like for instance, this against a thorax, the thorax would never survive. Between the optimal range script or the tracking speed scripts, the newts, the thorax would lose its ability to fire its weapons. You can tank the drones and take his drones out. He'll have at the most 10 drones or 5 hammerheads. And yeah, I mean, it's game over. It's 1 versus 1, the Sentinel would have the thorax, no problem. Or pretty much any laser fit of our ship. Mauler, Holman, etc. So yeah, each ship has its specialty. No one ship is gonna fit every scenario, but some ships fit most. Yeah. Anyone have any questions about any specific T2 frigs? No. Okay, so I'll go over a little bit more practicality. If you're flying T2 frigs in a small gang scenario where let's say you're 10 or less people, you're usually going to want to active or speed tank your ships. If you're going to be flying with, let's say, up to 20 people, I'd say get some frigate logi with you and buffer tank your ships. Like on an Enyo or an Ishkar, for instance, instead of putting an armor rep on there, throw on a plate. Or just a lot more buffer. Buffer fits like Energize Adaptive Nanomembrane or Invulnerability Field. Things to basically bring up your resistances. Like for instance, I think the Retribution has a bonus, like a 5% bonus per skill level for armor resistances. So you can get that thing, an assault frigate with like 15,000 EHP, which is just ridiculous. And that's not including like links or boosters or anything else. And for a frigate, that's just ridiculous. Like you can throw a retribution into through a gate and let a cruiser engage you as bait, and get your buddies to come in there. Not once you got that tackle, your logi come in there and just be up a couple cycles. And T1 frigate logi, even though they're small and they do a lot of reps, they do reps really quickly. Hold on 1 second, phone call. Sorry about that. Work. Okay. Yeah, guys, let's go ahead and do the strat. I'm getting PM down that we should end class. Drop fleet.